Hey Wolfpack, and welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed your week, and I hope you're going to enjoy today's video. Today, we're reading 3 more scary intruder encounters. With that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. I think they're trying to scare me to death. It all started with a cup of water. Every morning I wake up, climb out of bed, and march downstairs, fill a tall glass with tap water and drink it. But this time, the water went down the wrong way, and I began coughing, sputtering, almost choking. I set the glass down on the countertop, turned away, and thumped my chest until the coughing stopped. But when I turned back, the cup of water was gone. I froze, motionless. Only my eyes moved, darting back and forth around the kitchen. The air shifted, a subtle drift, as though someone moved through with incredible speed. I stepped back from the countertop, and my heel bumped into something. I spun around. My heel had bumped into the glass of water. It tumbled over with a dull and clattering thud. Empty. Wary, I squatted down, picked it up, and studied it. Turned it over in my hand like it was some strange alien artifact. What just happened? I called my sister to tell her what happened, and she laughed. There must be a reasonable explanation, she said. Perhaps Dash from The Incredibles snuck into your house and moved the cup? Coincidence? I think not. You even kind of look like that teacher, she teased. I laughed along, and maybe she was right. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation for it. Maybe I dropped the glass in my coughing fit and it somehow landed upright. Crazier things have happened. But of course, that wasn't the end of it. Little things like this became commonplace. Each event was slightly less explainable than the last. A building experience of uncanny madness. But still, I shrugged it off. Tried to think of reasonable explanations. Tried to hand-wave it all away, but then, the cup trail incident occurred. There was no reasonable explanation for the cup trail incident. I snapped awake. 2:58 a.m. on a Tuesday. Bright light blinding into my dilated eyes. The lights were on, somehow. A power surge, perhaps? I climbed out of bed, marched across the room, and froze. I froze because my bedroom door was also open. But the door being open didn't bother me too much. What bothered me was the glass of half-empty water sitting on the floor in the middle of the upstairs hallway. That bothered me for several reasons. Chief among them being, I didn't put it there. I crept out into the hallway, and the floor was uncharacteristically creaky tonight. I squatted down, lifted the glass of water, and saw fingerprints. Fingerprints were fogged on the glass. Dozens and dozens of fingerprints. I recoiled, dropping the glass. It thumped onto the carpet and spilled over, an expanding puddle of water absorbing into the carpet. I glanced back over my shoulder. A looming sense of unease climbed through my body. I pushed back to stand and... boom! Another glass of water. Half empty, sitting at the top of the stairs. I began to walk forward, looking down the stairs. Another one, sitting halfway down the steps, a trail of half-empty cups. Should I just call the police? I reached for my phone instinctively, but it wasn't there. I always kept my phone in my pocket, even while I slept, don't ask. But now, it was gone. It was gone and somebody was hiding in my house. I looked back over my shoulder down the hallway, towards my bedroom. Did it fall out of my pocket? Was it in my bed? Did I leave it on my bedside table, maybe? I was about to go look when, downstairs, something buzzed against the hardwood floor. A quick 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 pattern, the distinct pattern I made for notifications. Somehow, it was downstairs. I turned back and took a deep breath and stepped forward. My phone lay on the kitchen floor, buzzing around in lazy circles. I stepped over it and picked it up and flicked on the screen. Time to call the police. But I froze again. My eyes caught a push notification at the top of my screen. New photo saved to cloud. I raised an eyebrow and tapped into it. My breath sucked out of my lungs like a vacuum. It was a photo of me fast asleep, taken at 2:57 a.m., 1 minute before I woke up. A sickening swell of dread spiraled through me as everything piled up. The cups of water, the lights turning on, and the phone being downstairs. And now, finally, the photo of me. The photo which somebody else had taken as I slept away. I began dialing 911.
911, where are you located?
A calming, almost serene voice answered, and I gave them my address.
Well, what's your emergency?
She replied, "There's someone in my house."
Are you in a room?
What?
Please get to a safe room and lock the door.
I bolted to the nearest washroom, slammed the door shut, and locked it. "Okay, sir. Are you safe?" said the voice on the other end. A door slammed shut somewhere upstairs. "He's upstairs," I said.
Help is on the way. Focus on breathing. Breathe in and breathe out.
I breathed in.
Breathe out.
I breathed out.
Breathe in.
Upstairs, another door swung open and slammed shut. The intruder was searching now, checking each and every room in order.
Sir, are you there?
Yes? I whispered. The slamming doors getting closer, one room at a time getting closer. The final door upstairs slammed shut, and suddenly, a door downstairs swung open and slammed shut again. Were there multiple intruders? Either there were multiple intruders, or this person was impossibly fast.
Sir?
He's...
Sir, are you still in the bathroom?
The bathroom. How did they know I was hiding in the bathroom? I never told them I was in there.
Sir, are you there?
The voice said again, but this time, I could hear it on the other side of the door too. I could hear the 911 operator's voice inside my house. The intruder was talking to me on the phone. The intruder was somehow pretending to be a 911 operator, and they were speaking to me at that very moment. The bathroom doorknob jostled. "Sir, open the door, please," she said. Dropping the phone, I wrapped my grip around the handle, pulled back with all my strength. "Sir, please, open the door." I didn't budge. "Sir, open the door! Open the door! Open the door!" She kept repeating, like a broken record, like a pre-made recording, all the while pulling back at the doorknob, trying to get in. The lights started turning on and off, a rapid cycle between light and dark, faster and faster. "Sir, we can't help you if you don't open the door," she said, almost sounding on the verge of laughter now. "Sir, are you there? Sir?" Suddenly, outside around the corner, the front door burst open. "Police!" A baritone voice boomed. Silence. "Police?" I remained quiet. I didn't trust it. Whatever I was dealing with didn't seem to play by the rules of reality. I wasn't going to fall for it. So, I remained silent, hands gripped around the doorknob, and I remained motionless. "Hello?" said the deep voice. Then, the crackle of radio static. "I'm getting no response. Requesting backup." I hid in the bathroom for about an hour until they found me. The actual police, I mean. I was a nervous wreck, understandably so, ranting and raving, telling them about the woman on the phone, telling them about the cups of water on the floor. They sent me in for psych eval, and I was discharged a few days later. Of course, no one believed me. Even when I showed them the photo of me sleeping, no one believed me still. "There must be a reasonable explanation," they always said. "Perhaps you had a temporary psychotic breakdown," my sister theorized. I moved out the next month. No way I was sticking around after that. In hindsight, I should have moved out earlier. Now, I'm living upstate, in a much smaller house. Less places for would-be intruders to hide. I have cameras set up everywhere, so this time, if anyone messes with me, I have the receipts. It's all connected to my phone too, so I can even check the cameras while at work. I might be a coward, but at least I'm not stupid. So anyways, quite a few uneventful months had gone by since the Cup Trail incident. In fact, nothing else had ever even happened until tonight. I was even starting to wonder if perhaps my sister was right. Perhaps I just had a momentary lapse in my sanity. But now I'm lying in bed, writing this on my phone, and I can't move. I'm paralyzed with fear, and writing this is the only thing that even remotely calms me down. I'm paralyzed with fear because earlier, about 1 hour and 23 minutes ago to be exact, I got home from work late. I got home from work late and crawled right into bed, and this was my first mistake. I broke my ritual. My daily ritual of checking all the cameras before entering the house, checking to see if any motion was recorded during the day. But I was tired, and it was late from work, and I just wanted to get some sleep. I'll check the cameras in bed, I thought. I'll just check them right now. And of course, today, of all days, is the day something happened. What happened, you ask? Perhaps some of you already guessed, but I'll let you know regardless. 9 hours and 23 minutes ago, the bedroom camera recorded motion. I watched the footage of my phone just 20 minutes ago. It was footage of me mulling about the house, getting ready for work, and then leaving. I breathed relief. Of course, it was just me. You fool, you should have known it was you. You threw off your own schedule, and you were late, and the cameras detected you. But then, 30 seconds after I left, motion detected, bedroom camera. The footage appeared, my empty bedroom, dark. So, I squinted and saw nothing. Suddenly, in the footage, the lights flicked on. Still nothing. They flicked on and off, and then, I saw something that filled me with a fear far beyond anything I'd ever felt. A fear far beyond anything I even knew was possible. When the lights flicked back on, a person appeared. A person standing in the middle of my room, with pin-straight posture, hands over their face like someone playing peekaboo. The footage fast-forward on its own now. Shadows drifting across the wall as the sun outside moved downward, but the person just stood there, motionless. Motionless as the world sped by, hands covering their face. The footage snapped back to real time, 30 seconds before I arrived home. The person slightly perked up, hearing my arrival. Then, hands still covering their face, they dropped to their knees. In one smooth, almost robotic motion, they fell to their side and rolled under the bed. They rolled under my bed, and I was currently laying on it. The bed which I am lying on right now, manically typing on my phone in the dark. Just beat them up, I would. I can almost hear the very readers among you writing in the comments below. Call 911. I hear the good faith warriors among you thinking, but seriously, call 911 after what happened last time. Either way, I can figure this is the last thing I'll ever post, so I hope you got some enjoyment out of reading about my imminent demise. William Creston. If you enjoyed this story and want to read more from the same author, please check out their subreddit r/Polterkites. The link will be in the description down below. I jolted from my sleep as I heard a door open from downstairs. Lifting my head off the pillow, I turned to my right to see if my wife had woken up as well, and she hadn't. She was just laying there, unmoving, snoring, and probably dreaming of some buff Spanish man named Ricardo. I got out of bed, put my robe and slippers on, and went to my clothing drawer to pull out a 9mm handgun and its suppressor. I attached the suppressor to the pistol and walked to the bedroom door that leads to the hallway and stairs. Before exiting the room, I looked over my shoulder to see if my wife was still asleep, and she was. I quietly walked out into the hallway, being careful not to wake my son, who was also sleeping in his own room on the far side of the hall. From where I was standing, I could hear shuffling and movement coming from the first floor. I took the handgun's safety off and prepared to confront whoever was in my house. Reaching the guardrail of the stairs, I looked down to see the shadow of a person in my living room. Slowly, I walked down the stairs, and when I got to the bottom, I saw the intruder in the living room on his knees, reaching his hand behind the couch. At least, that's what it looked like he was doing. I couldn't see that well in the darkness of the midnight gloom. "Hey, you!" I said, as I got into a firing position and pointed the pistol at him. The intruder got to his feet and turned around to face me, standing there with my handgun pointed at the figure's head. I looked down in his right hand to see he was holding something. I thought the intruder was holding some sort of weapon, so I shot him. In the shadowy living room and moon-lighted windowsills, the intruder's head rocked backward to the floor, his body following. The intruder lay there, his body unmoving. It was obvious the bullet had killed him instantly. I reached my hand to the side of the living room wall for the light switch. The ceiling fans of light illuminated the room and the body, and that's when I saw the face of the boy. "God damn it," I muttered. I walked closer to the body to see that the intruder hadn't been holding a weapon, but a G.I. Joe action figure. I took a deep breath and let out a massive sigh. The intruder was the neighbor's child, whom we used to call Speedy Jack, because of how fast he could run. Now, he was on the cold wood floor of my living room with a puncture wound through his skull. It looked like the little guy had come to get his action figure. He must have left the action figure last time he was here on a play date with my son. Why he chose to come back to get it in the middle of the night, I have no idea. Cool air from outside brushed my face and I noticed that he left the back door open. I cursed myself for forgetting to lock it that night because if I had, this situation could have been avoided completely. I turned the living room light off and then went to the back door to close it. I left the living room and made my way to the garage to get a large industrial-sized trash bag. After getting the trash bag, I grabbed a plastic bucket on the way out. Then, I went into the kitchen to get rubber gloves and bleach. Now that I had everything I needed, I went back into the living room to stuff the boy's body into the garbage bag. He was way heavier than he looked, so it was extremely hard to drag him out into the backyard. It was a full moon that night. The backyard was fully illuminated, which meant I'd have to be very quiet and try to stay out of sight. Be there any nosy night owl neighbors keeping an eye out for suspicious activity. I dragged the body over to the corner of my wooden backyard fence where it was least visible to any onlookers. I walked across the yard to my shed to get a shovel and a pickaxe. Once I had the tools, I started my work. The hole wasn't hard to dig, and the dirt was already loose. And by the time I had put the child's body into the ground and covered it back up, dawn's early sunlight was just coming over the horizon. I put the digging implements away and went back inside the house to clean up the bloody mess. That only took me 30 minutes. The boy's brains hadn't splattered that much, so it made the job easy. After the cleaning was done, I looked at the digital clock in my living room to see it was 5:45 a.m. I put everything away, washed my hands, and threw my robe into the trash can. Blood had gotten on it, and I had to get rid of the evidence. The night was almost a new day, and I wasn't looking forward to going to work, as I ended up calling in sick. Before dawn's first light shined through the trees in my backyard, and after one of the longest nights of my life, I finally made it back to the bedroom where my wife still appeared to be sleeping. I wasn't surprised. She was able to sleep through, well, everything I had done that night, because she's a heavy sleeper. I put my handgun back in the drawer and got into bed. Beside me, I could feel my wife moving around coming out of sleep. I whispered to her, "He came back again." Sleep still in her eyes and voice very groggy. She said, "Shit, that's the second time this week." I haven't been able to sleep lately. Here's why. Thanksgiving night last year, my wife and I had just completed a brutal drive back from visiting our family nearly 4 hours away. Since we were both due back to work the next day, we tried our best to get in bed as fast as possible, skipping our nighttime routine. The only thing we did do was take our Shih Tzu poodle out to use the bathroom. We were exhausted, and after taking the dog out, We both went to bed and fell asleep pretty fast. Fast forward to 5 a.m. It's still dark outside, and my wife woke up after hearing our front door slam. There's only one way to get in and out of our apartment, and that's through the front door. She quickly realized I was sound asleep next to her, and she hadn't just slept through me leaving for work. Then, our dog started growling. In a way, I've never heard any dog growl. It was ungodly, and for the sake of re-emphasis, I've never heard a dog growl like this ever. He jumped out of bed and started barking at the door, waking me up in the process. Jolting out of bed, I opened the door to the bedroom, and there he was, standing in our living room between me and our only chance of escape, was the shadowy figure of an incredibly tall, hairy man, built like a brick wall. He was wearing nothing but a pair of stained boxers. My heart leaped out of my chest. I grabbed a hunting knife from my dresser drawer, not really sure as what to do. Since I'm the last person who'd win in any kind of fight, I'm only 120 pounds of nerd. I stood between him and the door to our room, staring him down for what seemed like an eternity, an open blade in my shaking hand. He was incredibly gross and hairy, like a transient who hadn't bathed in weeks. I could smell the foul stench of rotting coming off of him. I realized that, having just woke up in a haze, I was still adjusting to my surroundings. Even with the adrenaline pumping, it felt like a vivid nightmare more than reality. My dog was flipping out at this point, trying to get out of the bedroom. I did my best to get him back in the room while keeping my eyes fixated on this shadowy figure. At first, I just wrote it off in my head. There's a saloon next door and this guy could just be drunk and disoriented. Yet, as we stared each other down, I started to notice. He had something massive in his hands. I couldn't quite tell what it was. The room was only lit by a nightlight we used to avoid running into the living room furniture at night. Then, all of a sudden, I guess he may have been sobering up to where he was. He dropped the item and bolted out the door, shattering our screen door in the process. As soon as it was over, I ran back into the bedroom to comfort my wife and to call the cops. Once we heard our next-door neighbors calling out, I felt a sense of relief. I turned on the lights and met them at the door, explaining what was going on. Obviously, they were pissed with the dog barking, but after they heard the glass shattering, they knew something was up. Our neighbors were an elderly couple in their mid-70s, and the husband came out with a handgun just to be safe. Once they came into the apartment, my neighbor with the gun noticed the item the man had dropped. He turned to me and asked me why there was a shotgun on our floor. I turned white. This man and his boxers had come to my house in the early hours of the morning with a goddamn shotgun. Yet for some reason, he decided not to use it, dropped it, and ran. This guy was not only capable of physically breaking me in half, but he had a shotgun to top it. I was scared, confused, and for every minute that I didn't see the cops, I felt a sense of impending dread. My wife was bawling in the bedroom, still on the phone with the cops. My neighbor raised his weapon and checked it for ammunition. Around the same time he did this, the cops had arrived, weapons drawn. After subsequently getting my neighbor in handcuffs and confiscating his weapon, I told them what had happened, and that my neighbor was merely doing the right thing trying to protect us. I assume we had just forgotten to lock our door due to the exhaustion, but my wife distinctly remembers locking it before going to bed, something we still argue about to this day, even though I was the only one to see him. My wife remembers hearing the door open and shut, which woke her up. It's metal, so it's pretty loud. My neighbors remember someone trying to open their door as well, and the entire apartment complex was aware as to the commotion around them. The police began to take statements, searched the area for hours, and had a patrol unit keep tabs on our apartment complex for a couple of days. Nothing ever came of the resulting police effort, not a single trace of the guy, except for the weapon he left behind. They of course analyzed it, but the serial number was removed. It was later revealed that the shotgun wasn't in working condition, and no ammunition was ever recovered. I'm sure they went through and did their due diligence, collecting fingerprints and running it through the database, but after several weeks of trying to follow up with the department, it was obvious to me that things weren't going to be resolved anytime soon. I talked with the folks at the saloon next to my apartment and gave them my description. They had already talked to the police, and nothing matching that description came up on their CCTV footage of that night. Our apartment didn't have any security at the time, and being that it was in a nicer part of town, not many people felt threatened enough to start using Ring doorbells yet. After about a month, I stopped paying attention to the incident, and my wife was still somewhat traumatized, so we moved shortly after. I let it out of my mind and went on with my life. Just recently, we welcomed a baby boy into our lives, and I had become so far removed, I almost put it out of my mind. I put it out of my mind, that is, until I started dreaming about it. Every night for the past week, I've been having dreams about this moment. Sometimes, the dream takes place in our apartment. Sometimes, it takes place in my current home. In my dream, the night before last, he was holding my son, and ever since then, I've had this dread about me. I even felt the need to install a Lorex CCTV system on our house. Something I hadn't really thought about surfaced in these dreams. The expression on this guy's face wasn't one of surprise or fear. He was excited and smiling at me. At least, that's the way I see it in my dreams. It's keeping me from a good night's sleep, and at my Thanksgiving, my family even noticed. I live 4 hours away now, so far out that this guy couldn't possibly be a threat, right? Thanks for listening, Wolfpack. If you want to submit your own story, the links for my email and subreddit will be down below. I've also created a Discord, so if you want to join that, the link will be in the description down below as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And with that said, have beautiful nightmares, and I will see you next time.